Yeah, so I was, I think it was 2003, 2004, when I was back here working on MEMS, the design suspension variants with Rafi, if anyone remember Rafi back then. I think he's like a multi-millionaire now, probably. The difference between being...
Oh, Rafi.
Yeah.
Rafi is CEO of a major Hong Kong internet startup on its third round of funding, and so it's gone public.
There you go.
Yeah.
So what's really interesting is that when dealing with startups, there's a difference between doing startups on your own. You can get the funding, you can have an equity stake, and then doing startups or even innovation within a corporation, which is basically you put it in your blood, sweat, and tears into it, and then all you do is get a flat paycheck, and you get no equity stake out of it. But I mean, with Mercedes-Benz, it's a really great company to work for. I've been working with them ever since I left UC Berkeley, and a lot has happened in that in the field. But as Alice mentioned, I lead the Business Innovation Lab at the Research and Development Facility down in Sunnyvale, California. And the lab in itself, or the group of business innovation, has been around for about 7 years, and we have core competencies across the board, from partnerships, investments in startups, design thinking, innovation processes and methods, and developing concepts. So in particular, our thought process in developing these business models, we go through the normal product development process, but with a business mindset, which is different than just purely working on developing a product on its own. So we do a lot of prototyping, internal piloting, and then eventually getting to the point that we roll out a business. In the areas that we do research in, it's a lot of areas that we focus on. The most that I really focus on right now is living in transit, which is moving people, and then applying digital services into that space. We're also looking in circular economy locally in my office, where we're going to start relatively soon. And this kind of ties into Kenneth's discussion earlier, where we'll be bringing energy storage or batteries into the homes and commercial areas. So the issue of power management is then kind of like reduced, because now you have a storage system that's capturing that power. And particularly what's innovative about our energy system, it's actually used batteries from our vehicles, from our electric vehicles. So you're really recycling batteries that no longer meet the specifications for vehicle application, but they're more than qualified for home applications. In one topic, and specifically one I want to talk about, Suburban Mobility, everyone knows what's going on with the sharing economy, and specifically what's going on in that space with Uber, Lyft, Sidecar, and then especially some of the car sharing applications as well. What many people don't know is that Car2Go is a point-to-point car sharing platform in over 25 cities across the US and North America and Europe, and that actually was built by our business innovation team. RightScout, there is a European version of that called Movil. That is a app that allows you to do multimodal transportation. This is also something that we have, actually with RightScout, we recently purchased them. There are other types of mobility services that we're looking into. But this is focusing a lot into the urban space, and it's pretty flooded in the urban space and how to try to get people moving around. But in a sense, most urban environments already have some form of public transportation to get a lot of people from one point to another, and for good reason. I mean, as you can see here, there is a significant rise in megacities. I visited Istanbul 2 years ago. I was in Sao Paulo, I think was about late last year. And just to see these cities is, I don't know if anyone has ever been to these megacities, it's just unbelievable. It makes New York City look like a little village. It's crazy. But the problem is that in the US, people know New York, Chicago, and San Francisco, but the majority of America looks like this. It's pretty sprawled out. And then from that standpoint is, yes, we are doing a lot in mobility services. Yes, it works in cities, but the majority of Americans live here. So how do we develop a solution in that space? And then, so this is where we come in, and one of the key projects that I'm working on with my team is developing mobility in a suburban environment. Now, there could be many solutions that you can build, but how do you make it a viable business? How do you make it sustainable so that you don't necessarily have to rely on government subsidies and various types of fees in order to make it sustainable? So one of the things that we've done, and it's been a pilot for about 2 years, is Boost. It is a child transportation service that we offer in Silicon Valley, everything from Atherton down to Sunnyvale. It is a child transportation service. On the surface, it looks just like a regular kid service. But there's a lot more behind it, and I'll get to it in a second. But what I'm going to do is show you a video first, a little demo of what Boost is.
Families today are busier than ever. Between work, school, after school, volunteering, and squeezing in a little me time, your calendar fills up fast. And getting everyone where they need to go is nearly impossible. The truth is, sometimes you're forced to choose between providing for your family or being their chauffeur. In the end, you're so worn out that your quality time is replaced with exhaustion. Now, what if you didn't have to make that choice? Well, at Boost by Mercedes-Benz, we understand that there are times when you simply can't get away, so you need a little backup. That's why we created a safe and convenient way to transport your kids around town. Boost isn't your ordinary set of wheels. It's the deluxe royal treatment, complete with a dedicated driver and a full-time concierge focused on making sure the kids are safe and having a blast. Getting your kids on Boost is super easy. Just go online and schedule a ride at least 3 days in advance. You'll get a reminder the day before your child has a ride on Boost. Then the day of, you'll get an alert that lets you know when your child is checked in and dropped off. Plus, you can monitor their progress anytime online or on the Boost mobile app. It's a great way to get the peace of mind of knowing that your kids are taken care of on those days when you just can't get away. With Boost by Mercedes-Benz, your calendar isn't so daunting anymore, and your family can actually enjoy the time they have together. So book a ride today on boostbybenz.com.
So on the front end, it looks like a really safe, reliable service. You have a concierge, a driver. But if you really pay attention to it on the back end, there's the technology piece of it. And this is where what our team really built on was, and this kind of goes back to even when I was a student at Berkeley, where we focused on how do you know when a bus is going to arrive or when it's late or not. And then I remember we were focusing on sensors and nodes, but with all the sensors that are in tablets right nowadays, you can pretty much track where people are. So instead of trying to find a way of integrating into the vehicles, we took a step ahead and saying, okay, similar to what Uber and everyone else has done, let's develop it for a shuttle system. Now, the unique thing is when you look at a lot of mobility solutions out there, it's a single pickup and a single drop-off. You need to go from here to here, I'll get you and I'll go there. Now all of a sudden, if I have to pick you up, you need to be there in 5 minutes. I need to pick you up, you need to be here in 10 minutes. I need to pick you up, you need to be there in 15 minutes. It gets quite complicated. And so this is what we were developing on the back end and developing a routing algorithm that literally calculates the desired pickup and drop-off time and trying to accommodate that. So now for this, we did this for children, and for good reason. We want to look at how do we use this elsewhere, because the majority of Americans do drive private vehicles. They spend a lot of time in their cars. Our research shows, and especially in certain suburban areas, people have on average of 1.1 to 1.2 vehicles per person. That means you have more cars than you need, especially when you have a family household of 4 people. You see a driveway has 4 to 5 cars. And in other areas in the world, that's not necessarily the case. And so we're looking at how do we develop this technology and use it in other applications like commuting services or moving seniors around or even having it as a feeder system to public transportation. So now if you want to get on the Caltrain and go down to, say, Mountain View, how do you get from there to your job without necessarily taking a cab or having a bike with you or waiting for a fixed bus to come in at a scheduled time? So these are the things that we're looking at, and it's really interesting and it's quite exciting. And this is just one bit of everything that's going on with Mercedes. And just by a show of hands, how many people are shocked that Mercedes is even doing this? Yeah. And that's the cool thing is like the fact that I have the directive from our CEO. He says, and his directive was pretty clear: extend individual mobility as long as possible, because our business at the end of the day for Mercedes-Benz is to continue the movement of people. And specifically considering, as many probably don't know, Mercedes-Benz was the inventor of the automobile. So you want to continue that paradigm moving forth. So with that, I think I am about timed up. And so I say thank you.